This is the Simply Home podcast, Ladies Who Build, a podcast for women by women. This is Ashley Wainscott
and Michelle Mullins. After spending the last 10 years revolutionizing the construction industry and raising the bar of the contracting world, we are inviting you on our journey as we continuously learn how to be extraordinary and thrive in this industry. Now come hang with us.
Welcome to episode 4, Being a Woman in the Industry. We really want to dive into this because it has been such a big topic for people around us. I feel like everyone's always asking, how does it feel for you to be a woman in the industry? So as we were thinking about this, we talked a lot about, one, this is how we get a lot of our business, is being a woman in the industry. And when we talk to clients about why they went with us, there are several reasons, but one of them is always because you're a woman in the industry and we stand out because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think because it's a big part of our marketing and who we are and how we've branded ourselves.
We've always embraced it, but I think it's taken time to come into our own flowering blossom of a woman over the years in this industry because, it's tough in the beginning. It's such a male-dominated industry, right? And in the beginning, it was very difficult for us to it took longer for us to get a stance and to get grounded in our city because we were women, because, everything was done by a man and they've been doing this industry for 100 years and they can lift a board that we can't lift. So therefore they know more, And so that took us a long time to kind of carve our path. But when we reflect back on this, we laugh and really take pride in the fact that we are both women that when we got kind of knocked down for that, it didn't push us down to ever think, oh, should we even be doing this? It propelled us to say, ooh, I'm going to show you I can do this. And I'm going to do it in my stiletto, it was just gave us energy to go show them, prove them wrong.
Yeah, it was the motivation. It was the Red Bull through our veins that pushed us into overdrive. And we were like, you know what? Let me show you exactly how this is done because I can do it better.
Mm-hmm.
And that came with clients and vendors. It was both sides of the equation were judgmental in their own ways. And we didn't see it all the time. We're definitely not milking this for something it wasn't,
No.
Right? Michelle and I never saw ourselves as like, oh, poor us, we're women. We never saw ourselves as victims because of it. We honestly didn't even think about it most of the time.
And we were probably blind to a lot of prejudice that we were getting because we were women.
Yeah.
We probably didn't even see it half the time because I didn't care. We knew we were providing a service. We could prove that we could provide the service well and efficiently. So in my mind, I always thought it's just your loss, dude. It doesn't bother me,
Yeah. And vendors were always the trickery of all of this, right? Where they initially, Michelle and I took a lot of heat. We took a lot of quote unquote abuse from them because we just wanted good vendors. It was like we'd do anything because, oh, he makes the best cabinets, or, oh, he puts in the best custom floors, or he does the best painting, right? But the truth of the matter is we took a lot of it because we wanted to deliver a quality job for clients. And so we sacrificed, some rough phone calls, some tears, some stress and anger with all of it. But I remember being completely astounded by how people thought and how vendors thought they could talk to us and how they thought they could treat us, because I don't know if that's the norm in some way, but it evolved over time. And now we have vendors who were like, they're so lovely. We don't need to snap our fingers at them. They understand us. We understand them. It's this mutual respect that I never could have. Of course, did I envision the day where this would happen? Yes, but I never could have seen myself here.
I think that for so many years, we've had really solid vendors for so many years that have stuck by us. And it's truly a partnership with them, and they do great work, and we continue to give them work, and we want to also respect them and say like, hey, go take some time off from us because you do work really hard and we don't want to overwork you. It's funny, like thinking about all the mansplaining that happened back in the day, and it's like, let me tell you how to paint this trim. It's like, well, no, we know, but I just need you to do it.
Right.
Or like how many times vendors were called this little girl, or I don't even know. Just like the little baby terms that they would use.
It was
And
so
it
condescending
was so
is what it was. It
condescending.
was so condescending, and Michelle and I, we had great tactics. We would inflate their ego, tell
Oh,
them
it
they're
always
so
inflate the ego.
great, tell them, which a lot of them were, but that was our method to getting them to the job site, right?
Yeah,
Is like, and honestly, that played an advantage for us because
we knew how to play it.
a man couldn't call another man and be like, come on, man, but like, you're so great.
Yeah,
And I really enjoy like,
yeah.
I don't know why that was my man voice, but like, but
But it's true.
it was an advantage of being women is that we could really play the like sympathy, empathy card. And you know what? If they were going to put us in that position to, be this woman role, then we were going to play
Yeah, I
into
might
it,
eat it up. Yeah.
you know? And I remember there was this one plumber I was working with when doing this renovation, and he was such a jerk. He went off on me. He was so mean, so nasty. Never work with him again. One and done. But when you have someone working on a job like that and they're on the permit and
You have money invested in
you have
it.
money invested and you're just thinking, I just need to get to the end, right? I just need to do whatever it will take to get this job over with, as long as they're doing good work, no matter the sacrifice. And that is not all that healthy. But I remember there were so many situations like that.
We just took it
Yeah.
because we needed them to do the work. And then we thought, okay, well, I don't want the client to see that we had to let this guy go or that he walked off.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we would just eat and deal with a lot of stuff like that because the client image was still everything to us. I mean, it still is, but we also have limits and respect ourselves in such a different way now. Everything can be resolved with communication, right? Like if we were just honest with the client back then and be like, we just need to be honest of what happened and here's my solution, 99% of the time they'd be like, cool, thanks
Yeah.
for letting me know.
Yeah.
Like they don't, they just want to know it's taken care of. So we just didn't think about that a lot back in the day. I remember this story. I will never forget. This guy was on a ladder and I think I was training a new person and I was wearing a skirt. And I remember he said something to another guy that was working there, like another vendor that we had scheduled. And he was like, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to sit here and take directions from a woman in a skirt. Like she doesn't know anything if that's how she's going to dress or something. And I laughed and I actually really loved it. And I remember wanting to dress in a skirt or dress like more around him just to piss him off. I mean, granted, he didn't want to work with us anymore.
But if he did, I would still wear a skirt.
I mean,
today.
taking direction from a woman has been a real struggle for a lot of men in the industry, because I was just thinking about it the other day. I didn't realize this until you said it, but I was working with a structural engineer that we hadn't talked to since the beginning of Simply Home or Simply Sold.
Somebody saw him.
But I worked with him a long time ago. And I remember when I was talking to him the other day, I was in shock how he was talking to me and how he was handling this situation of me needing to get paperwork from him and him trying to mansplain to me how things worked. And it was not a partnership. I did what he said. He was in charge, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, afterwards, I was so shocked that someone would treat me like that. And what I realized was that we have surrounded ourselves with such good people today, but it took me back to PTSD from way back when I just felt so awful for people talking to me like that. And I think that's somewhat normal in the industry because I had to put myself in his shoes and he's been so scarred. He's been put in tough situations from general contractors, and from other parties that caused him to react that way. Right. Like he's reacting because he's been through some stuff. And I try so hard not to take it personally, but it took everything in me not to lose it on him. And I was like, ooh, we're going to need to go meditate after this. I'm going to need some alms.
That's good interpersonal work. Because back in the day, we would have gone off. I mean,
Oh.
how many times Okay, let me clarify. You actually never went.
No, I did on the one guy.
Okay,
Remember
one in
the
10
one guy
years.
that you had to work with at that house on the east side? It had like the back house that the
Yes.
homeless guy was living
Yeah.
in. Remember?
Yes.
Remember that? Yeah, you had to work with him on that because I couldn't take it. I was like, you will absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
you need to be a bigger and better person. And
Well, it's really embarrassing. I would really kind of I would hit deep. I would hit hard on these guys when they pissed me off. Well, I think that's, and this is, I actually never would recommend this, but I think that's in a bit of a way that I don't even say it respect because it's not how you get respect. It's so funny because I remember people would be like, wow, like you walk onto this job site with like 20 men. Are they not all trying to hit on you? And I was like, no, they're literally terrified of me. No one's hitting on me. No one's even talking to me. Like, they're like, I'm like blue taping everything because it all needs to be fixed. But, I had to learn the hard way because I felt it was almost my defense mechanism was I don't want them to mansplain or talk down to me. And therefore, I'm going to be super aggressive to them back so they respect me. And it was
interesting
absolutely
approach.
not the way to go. I do not recommend any of that.
But that meant good cop, bad cop, right?
Yeah.
So I knew you were being bad cop. So I would come in and be good cop and be
Yeah.
like, oh, like, how are you doing? How
Yeah.
are you? How's your life? La, la, la. And then when I had my moments, you would come in and be good cop
Mm-hmm.
and they would be like, oh, yeah, no, I can't work with her. She's crazy or she's blah, blah, blah.
You can't work with her. What's till you meet me? You really can't work with
Yeah,
me.
you think I'm nice. Just wait. That's why we called her, your alter ego's name is Lauren.
Which is my first legal name.
We named her.
Yes.
And then we put her to bed.
Right. Yeah, she hasn't come out in a hot minute.
Like how I say we, I mean, I didn't have to.
I mean, if you ask my fiance, he's like, Lauren comes out every night. She's cry.
Get her a glass of wine. I see her on the couch.
He's like, nope, Lauren's still active.
She's not dormant.
No. But on the flip side of this, so we talked about vendors, but what was equally tough was clients, right? And I think, you made a point earlier is that I think a lot of our clients were awesome, men and women, but we had a lot of great, wonderful men clients that were so open to this idea. They loved it. They were just like, I'm all for you. I'm rooting for you. And that was so refreshing. But there were definitely clients where, you could just feel, you not only could feel like the condescending eyes, but you could just, the way that they spoke with you, it was still a lot of mansplaining. It was still a lot of, I know what's best. And why wouldn't you catch? It's just crazy stuff, right?
Yeah. Why don't you know everything?
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you catch that? And you're like, because I literally don't know everything.
Right.
I'm not 80 years old, right?
Yeah.
I'm in my 20s, but I'm trying and I will figure it out. But, I do think you reminded me of the time I was walking through with our new sales guy and we were meeting a client. We were walking through a house and the client started talking to my new sales guy and he was like, so this and that. And, we're going to need to do this. And the new sales guy said something back to the client and he said, well, you actually are going to want to talk to Ashley. She's the owner in the actual GC. I'm new here.
Mm-hmm.
And the client looked so shocked and he didn't even know how to handle that. I mean, he looked at me and he's like, oh, okay. So Ashley, like, do you know what I'm talking about? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I've been following you this whole time. But I was waiting for him to realize that it was me. I'm the owner and I have the experience. But he didn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah, that's totally happened to me too with project managers too. And they'll be like, yeah, that's great and all, but she's the one you should be talking to. It's so great sitting back and watching it.
And to be honest, I think that's why I wouldn't even say that's why we hired the men that we did, but it was nice having men on our team because there were times in which we had to utilize them.
Unfortunately, there was times
where we had to be like, listen, the only person this client is going to have a productive conversation will be a man. We just knew when you're trying to be reasonable and there's absolutely no reason that they can't be, it's because you're a woman.
Yeah. And you kind of you got to bring in the mail. You got to get it over with. That's all they're going to listen to and talk to. So just do it. Like, we're not here to change this man's mind of feminism. Like, I'm just trying to get through this project.
Right.
I'll never see you again.
I'm trying to do my job and we need to finish this up and wrap it up. And I mean, Michelle and I were so devoted to clients. We were so devoted to clients that we had to finish a project. And what should have happened is that we just cut
We
ties
walked
and
off.
walked away.
But we couldn't.
We were so focused about our reputation. We were so focused about saying no matter what, we were going to finish the job and we wouldn't leave anyone hanging.
Because we didn't want to be the GC that leaves a person high and dry.
Yeah, we would be a lot of other things, but not that.
Call me what you want, but I'm still be here. Also, shout out to Ashley's dad, because he is the trooper that helped us in the beginning when situations came like that. And he was the first to, I mean, he could be anywhere in Austin and we'd be like, we need you now. And he would just show up, and he really represented in the ways that we could not represent.
Yeah, we had to, even if his job was literally just to stand there,
Which sometimes it was.
and not say anything and just, be the kind, nice man that he is,
Yeah.
and be like, yeah, absolutely, I hear you. Cool, Asha, what am I here for today? What am I doing? What are y'all doing on this job? And I'm like, you just sit there, you smile.
Yeah.
That's all I need from you, which I'm proud to say we haven't brought him on jobs in a very, very long time. But in the beginning, we 100% needed his male aura. We needed his male being, because that's, truth be told, the times that we were living in. And we worked really hard in shifting the industry, and we've worked really hard over the years to make our presence known. And so anyone that calls us knows we're women. They like
Right.
that we're women. But in the beginning, that just wasn't the norm.
Yeah, they thought we were like, okay, cool, you're the salesperson, but let me talk to the actual GC. And then we put on our GC hat, and we're like, hi, that's also me.
They're like, yeah, no. Who else?
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
else do you have
Yeah.
here? But yeah, there was a lot of bias. And I don't want to like label things and say things were biased or like sexist, but it was so common that we received phone calls that people would be saying, oh, I thought you were the stager. Or I thought you were
Yeah.
the designer. We would have to correct them and say, no, we're the contractor.
Right.
And we're the GC, and we're the ones doing the actual work. And I still get that to this
Mhm.
day. And I feel like it's just because people don't realize that they naturally see women in that role, and they don't see women as a contractor.
Yeah, it's not their fault. It's okay. Like, it doesn't bother us. But we still get it to this day. Like, people will be like, so what do you think? I'm sure you could design this space really well. It's what you do for a living. And I'm like, who are you talking to? Not me. I don't design spaces. But, what we also have learned, especially through our coach when we brought her on, was the way that people treat you is because they are hurt, right? Like the saying, hurt people hurt people. And that took us a really long time, I think for me more so than you, because my initial instinct reaction was to meet their energy. So if the energy was super aggressive, I wanted to be aggressive back, because you've hurt my feelings. I'm going to hurt your feelings, an eye for an eye type of thing. Whereas as you grow in your emotional intelligence, you realize, okay, that person is being really aggressive because of their own hurts and pains, and it doesn't make them wrong and it doesn't make them right, but you also don't have to match that. And that took a really long time to swallow, because, your first reaction is like, wait, that made me mad, and you can't talk to me that way,
Yeah, absolutely. So now we can handle it. Now I'm saying this and I'm laughing, because now we always try to handle things understanding that their projections have nothing to do with us personally, and has everything to do with them, right? It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, and it doesn't mean that you can't still feel things.
I remember back in the day, well, and still to this day, actually, I really live by this motto is, if it makes you uncomfortable, you need to do it. And that can be so far explained into every aspect of anything in your life. But for example, needed to call a really tough client, male client that was very aggressive. And I was like shaking in my boots, and I was really scared, and I didn't know what I was going to say to him because I knew he was going to yell at me. So anyway, I knew that this like client was like cussing me out. I was very upset. But those moments, I remember thinking, I was in the back of my office and I was like hyping myself up, and I was like, okay, you got to call him. You got to call him. You got to call him. And so I remember calling him, and I left him a message, and I said, your message came off very aggressive, and I don't even know what I said, but I said, but I will not accept the language that you used in that. And until you're ready to have, a mature conversation, I'm happy to talk about the solution here and we can move forward. But until then, I cannot have this conversation with you if this is how it's going to go. But I was like so uncomfortable in that moment. But I remember thinking, who is going to stand up for me if I can't stand up for myself? Right. And it was just me and you. I mean, we had team members, but we were leading the pack.
And we were always the customer service. When things got hairy or things got bad, we would have to come in. So we would be the ones
to be the mediator
on the front line.
Yeah, we had to be, and we had to take it. But it made me so uncomfortable. And I thought like, okay, because it's making me uncomfortable, this means I have to grow in this area. And until it doesn't make me uncomfortable, I have to keep doing it. And I mean, still to this day, like we have to make some tough conversations happen. But people just want solutions. They want to be heard. They want to vent. They want to know that they're not stupid in the way that they're thinking. And they just want to plan forward.
Yeah.
That's how to get to resolution.
It always is the disappointment that kills me inside. That was always what held me back with clients. I'd have to push it on my phone. I'd have to push their number and then just let it ring and be like, oh, okay, oh God, it's ringing. And oh my God, they just answered it. Oh my God, how is this going to go? But you have to get over the fact that you don't know how it's going to go. It may go bad. Most of the time it ends really well.
Yeah.
But it was the disappointment for me of when we disappointed clients back in the day. I just felt horrible, right? Because we had the best intention and we wanted it to go really well.
Right.
And that's a whole nother conversation of like expectations. But I wanted it to go really well, and I had to get over my feelings in order to have that conversation and to stick with the facts and let them vent and let them feel heard.
Stick to the facts. That was a good one to learn. Because I'd be like, stick to my emotions. But again, shout out to our coach, was always like, stick to the facts. Don't go into story mode. Go to solutions.
All right. So wrapping it up, being women in the industry, we've had a lot of challenges. We've had a lot of discoveries, and it's something we're still working through. But when we look back at the uphill climb, we didn't have the gear at the time, but now we're at the top of the mountain and we embrace our
womanhood.
We embrace it. We embrace it with our clients.
Yeah.
We work a lot with females and with women, and it's something we're really passionate about. And that's why we're here on this podcast. We'll continue to talk about it, and we'll continue to support our fellow female business owners, entrepreneurs, supporters in any industry that you're in. We want to encourage you to be the person that works through it and climbs the uphill battle, because we just have to move on. We have to continue on.
All right. And that's a wrap. Stay tuned for next episode, because we'll be talking about
how to find your niche
or niche,
whatever they say. We'll let you know how to find it.
Yes. Thanks for listening. Subscribe and follow us so we can share our journey with other like-minded women. You can visit our show notes for affiliate links, transcript, and other resources on our podcast page.
And if you want to see our stunning remodels, give us a follow on Instagram at Simply Home Austin. See you next time. Bye, y'all.